Planting trees, it's an easy enough task, right? Dig a hole, throw your tree in, fill the hole, water it. It's pretty simple. However, I'm going to give you guys 3 additional tips to essentially guarantee success in transplanting your brand new investment and to promote growth throughout the years. Here are the tools that you are going to need. A shovel. No, you're not going to catch me. No. You're gonna need a shovel. Yes, yes, yes. You're gonna need a shovel. You're gonna need about 5 gallons of water per tree. But if you're a normal person, a garden hose. Okay, and then last but not least, you need some trees. So what we have here, this is the golden colonnade ginko tree, and then we have a Renaissance reflection birch tree. Now the reason I bought both these trees is that they're different, yes, but both of their leaves turn golden yellow and gold in the fall, kind of like the picture there. And so they'll go really well with our aspens along our fence, and they should make a really kind of cool tree line as time goes on. So as we all know, if you buy a good quality tree from a nursery, they aren't cheap. I believe this ginkgo tree was about $260, and then I know for a fact this birch tree was $140. So on these 2 trees alone, I spent over $400, which is very expensive. And the reason I'm making this video is because these tips have helped me in the past, and I want to help protect your investment. So we're going to take them out to the road and we'll get to planting them. Now the last thing that I just went inside to grab to help get me through planting these 2 trees behind me was this guy. I'll tell you more about it. So one thing I don't really talk about here on the channel is what I do for a living outside of making these occasional YouTube videos. So right now I am 30 years old, and basically out of high school I got into the fire service. So I am a career firefighter here locally, and I'm also a paramedic, and I've been doing it for about 12 years, which is crazy. And if you know anything about the firefighter's schedule, it's that it can be pretty demanding at times. So one of the common schedules, and the one that I work, it's called a 48-96. So you work 2 days on, then you get 4 days off. And it sounds pretty good on paper, but sometimes it can be pretty fatiguing. There are times where you can be up and awake for most of that 48 hours, and then you kind of go home and it's time to recover, and then you go back a couple days later and you do it all again. It can be a pretty vicious cycle. And a lot of times when I'm here at home, I'm tired, I never quite feel awake, and I'm kind of like a walking zombie, if you will. Now, the reason I'm saying all of this is because for the past 7 days, I've been trying and sampling out a mental performance shot sent to me by a US-based company known as Magic Mind. Now, when they got a hold of me a few weeks ago to try out and sample their product and partake in their 7-day challenge to see how I felt after I took the performance shot for a week, I knew I was all in, had to try it, because I will basically do anything to try to improve my energy. So Magic Mind was basically invented to boost your focus, your motivation, your mood, and reduce stress, all with this one little shot. And I know it sounds kind of far-fetched, but I can honestly say over the last few days of taking this, it works. Now, typically how I like to drink Magic Mind is that I'll actually take it alongside my morning coffee and kind of pair it as my morning ritual now. Now, a really cool fun fact about Magic Mind is that it was actually validated and made with doctors. It is completely safe, it's filled with vitamins, and it's actually really healthy. It's the perfect addition to your morning routine. Drink it with your coffee in the morning, no crash, it is perfect. So this is actually day 8 as we're making this video right now of taking Magic Mind. So I completed the 7-day challenge yesterday. I am in love with this stuff. I want to show you how I drink it. So the consistency is kind of that of like a ginger shot. It's kind of thin. There is some sediment at the bottom, so you really want to shake it up really well. I like to keep it in the refrigerator. It's really good chilled. Some people put it over ice, put it into oat milk, what have you. I really just prefer to either sip it or you can shoot it. Cheers. It's got a really good flavor. It's kind of sweet. It kind of tastes like greens. Really enjoy the taste of this stuff. So on the first day that I actually took Magic Mind, it was actually at work at my fire department. And within probably an hour, I noticed that my focus was increased, I was more aware, and it really just improved my performance that day, and I didn't feel sluggish, and I actually had one of the best days of work that I've probably had in a very long time. So as I continued to take it throughout the week, it just got better and better. I've been productive, I've been active, I haven't felt like a zombie. It's been amazing. And paired with my coffee, I really, really look forward to drinking this stuff every morning. Also, side note, you don't have to drink it with coffee. You don't need to get all of these effects. There's also 55 milligrams of caffeine per bottle, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, so if you guys are in fact interested in checking out Magic Mind for yourself, be sure to check the description box down below for the link and use the discount code DannySchaefer20 for up to 56% off your first subscription of Magic Mind. Let's get into planting some trees. Okay, so tree planting tip number 1 is obviously we need to dig our hole. We all pretty much know that. However, you want to take the size of the pot that your tree came in and you essentially want to double it. So dig a hole twice the size of the tree's pot, but you want to make sure that the depth remains the same. So you don't need to go any deeper than the actual pot, just twice as big as the pot that it came in. And this is where we're going to dig. I have really rocky soil here in North Idaho, so I'm hoping that I don't encounter any boulders, because that's always a fun time. Okay, so our hole is dug. That was actually really easy. No giant rocks, so I'm happy. And essentially it's time to put our tree into the ground. So a common misconception that I think a lot of people have is that when it's actually time to take the tree out of the pot, put it in the ground, that you're actually supposed to lift it from the trunk to get it out of the pot. That's a no-no, and I feel like you can actually damage the tree and the roots itself. So what you actually want to do, and you're not going to damage the tree by doing it this way, is just tip it on its side. Be mindful of the branches on the ground, but just gently roll it and push on the sides of the pot that it came in, just to loosen it. And you can kind of see it on my end. I mean, you guys can't, but I can, that the dirt is loosening from the sides of the pot. And essentially now you can actually take it and put it in the hole. So we'll tip it again on its side, and we'll just pull really gently and place it in the hole. So that's not bad. We have a really good depth. I like the hole that we dug, and it's time to move on to step number 2. So my aim for planting it where I did was to position it between this aspen tree on the right and this aspen tree on the left, and I wanted to just make sure it was centered. So now is a really good time to just take a step back, look at it from afar, and make sure it's exactly where you want it. Because now is the time, if you need to redig a hole and reposition it, it's the time to do it right now. Okay, so step number 2, pretty darn simple. Before we actually get to it, you just want to make sure that your tree is straight and upright. Position it so it looks straight, so it looks nice, and that it's not drooping and diagonal, because nobody wants a 45-degree angled tree, right? So make sure it's pretty much where you want it, kind of like so, and you can adjust it accordingly as you need, but kind of like that. That's where I like it. So instead of filling the hole with our native soil, what we're going to do is we're going to fill it most of the way with compost. So compost is going to provide really good and nice nutrients to the tree itself. That way it's not just native soil that the roots are growing into. It'll allow for good root growth, and it'll just give your tree a really good kickstart to growing nice and healthy. So we're going to dump our compost in. I'll show you what's next. One thing that I've done, if you don't have compost on hand, is that I've actually used like spent garden soil. I did a big bucket garden last year, if any of you guys have been following the channel for any period of time, but we had just bucket garden soil and I had it all left over, and I recently did a transplant of a few trees, and that old leftover soil still had enough nutrients, and the trees are doing really well. You can press down gently. All right, so that's step number 2. We just filled compost around the majority of the hole that we dug around the actual plant itself and the root ball. Okay, so third and final step, what we have here, this is vitamin B1. It is a transplant solution that essentially we're going to mix into our bucket of water right here, and then we'll put it in the hole that we just dug and put compost in with the tree. Essentially, it is a transplant solution, and its main purpose is to prevent root shock. So it's really good stuff. I've used it on all of our trees here on the property, and I highly recommend you get this stuff. I'll put an Amazon link down below for you guys to check it out. Highly recommended. So what we're going to do is we just take about a tablespoon. I don't really measure. I just pour it into the bucket of water itself. kind of like so. Might have been a little more than a tablespoon. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we're just going to try to do our best to use half of the water that we have here and water the tree really well around the root ball. All right. Okay, kind of like so. And essentially, you guys, the only thing left to do is fill the rest of the hole with your native soil. So let's do it. All right, now that we've filled up the rest of the hole with our native soil, we'll just pour the rest of our bucket around the soil. Really want to water it in well. Kind of like so. So it's a pretty warm day here in North Idaho. By warm, I mean about 68, 70 degrees. But as the summer progresses and it gets warmer, I'll be out here probably daily watering this with a garden hose, and I'll probably keep that up for most of the summer just to make sure it becomes a really established tree. And then as time goes on, years, we shouldn't have to worry about it too much. Now, most trees come with a pole that helps stabilize it. It's a bamboo pole, and I'm gonna leave that on. Again, it just kind of helps support it, it stabilizes it, and then next year I'll be taking this off. So we live in a pretty heavily populated area with deer, and so I highly recommend, if you are as well, that you need to probably fence in around your tree. All I did here, this is 3 T-posts and then just some basic 5-foot welded wire. And that's one option that you could take to actually protect your tree. Now another option, and this is probably what I'm going to start doing, is I just did a really basic wrap around the trunk of this aspen tree, and it takes probably 10, 11 inches of welded wire, not even very much. And this is proven to be pretty solid. I kind of placed these out so they would poke deer if they tried to eat through it. But so far we haven't had any issues with deer damaging the trees. So this is an option as well. Okay, so just to review, this is how you plant a tree successfully. So dig a hole twice the diameter of the pot that the tree came in. When you're ready to place the tree into the hole you just dug, don't pull from the trunk. Tip it on its side gently and roll it. And then we'll pull really gently, kind of like so. Position the tree how you want it and take a good few steps back to make sure it's exactly where you want it. Fill the majority of the hole with compost. Take your vitamin B1 to prevent root shock. Put about a tablespoon in your bucket of water. And now we're just going to fill the hole with about half of the water in this bucket. Water it in really nicely. Fill the rest of the hole with native soil, and you are almost done. Then use the rest of the water and water the tree in one more time. All right, you guys, so we successfully planted our ginkgo tree and our birch tree. Big thanks to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to check them out, link down in the description. Highly recommended. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you on the next video.